Welcome back to Suffocating in Suburbia. I'm your host and your only host, Stevie GB. Tonight, I have a special guest. This is a guy I've known, we just figured it out, probably since 1998. We met at the Brokerage Comedy Club in Belmore, Long Island, as I like to call it. And he's a great guy. He's a former NYPD officer turned comedian, just like I'm an accountant that turned into a comedian. He's a cop that turned into a comedian. So we have a lot in common. Not really. But anyway, great guy, does improv like nobody else, teaching, acting, does it all. Handsome man, looking old, but I still love him. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Scott Baker. How are you, Scott?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you when you said looking old. I'm sorry. My damnedest hearing aid.
Hey.
What's going on, brother? Brother Stevie GB.
Yeah,
One of my
what is
favorite
going
comedians on this Zoom.
on this particular Zoom at this point in time? We had a little technical issues starting out because we're both, advanced age. So
We're
we
old.
have some issues with technological things, but that's all right. So how are you? Thanks for doing this. Thanks for coming on. We talked about
You're very
you
welcome,
coming on
man. I love you.
before.
You're a good guy.
Oh, thank
A
you.
lot of fun.
You too.
A lot of fun at the shows. We got a lot of stories. It's like when I was a cop, it's like a club. You know what I mean? When I mean a club, I don't mean you always stick together, that blue wall of silence bullshit that people talk about. But I mean the club of like, oh, you get to see what's behind the curtain, you know?
Right.
So when I was a cop, it was like you had a front row seat to the greatest show on earth, you know?
Oh,
So like when you're at New Year's Eve, everybody's scrunched in those, pens. You're on the other side at New Year's Eve and you're getting paid. So you're freezing for a reason. They're freezing because they're lunatics. You know what I mean? I
yeah.
watched the
Oh, so
whole show.
you've been a cop at the New Year's Eve?
Yeah, every New York City cop's got to eventually do a couple of tours of that,
Is that
You
like the
got to do it.
worst gig? Is that the worst gig
No,
for a cop? No?
not at all. No.
What is? What is the worst thing a cop? I mean, traffic cops are going to be tough.
Traffic sucks. West Indian Day Parade is the worst.
Really?
That's the worst. West Indian Day Parade, there's shootings every year. The news doesn't
Wow.
want to report it because it's
Yeah.
racist.
Uh,
All of a sudden, like it's racist to try and clean out crime in those areas. Give me a break.
yeah.
Um,
Wow, the West Indian Day. That was the one where I saw the cops dancing in the street with them.
yeah. Take this word from me. The daytime is so much fun because
Yeah.
the families come out, and the people who are there to celebrate for real are wonderful people, and it's a lot of fun. It's very colorful, and people are in a good mood. They love you there. They work good with the community. That's great. It's when nighttime comes and the families now go home and the vendors start to pack up,
Mm.
try to clear the streets from all the people who are coming out, the gang members and whatever.
Ah,
Now all of a sudden it's the people who aren't there to celebrate, they're just there to do bad stuff. That's where the tough part comes in. Not the regular people in the neighborhood. They're good people. There's a
wow.
big distinction between those two.
And you did those every year, or how many years?
Yeah, every year, every Labor Day until you're smart enough to request it for your day off. If you get enough, like I would make it my annual vacation pick. You get your vacation pick and then you get 2 vacation pick personal days.
Oh,
Now the unit I had was Sunday, Mondays off. And I would still put in for that Monday, even though it was my regular scheduled day off. So I didn't want them to pull me over for overtime. I was like, enough. I'm tired of getting shot at. I remember one time they were throwing bottles at us and you had your riot helmets on. So I pushed the cop out of the way because picture this, if you will. You ever go to a baseball stadium, you know why the lights are up so high? Because if the
right.
ball goes above the lights, like my hand is on the screen here, you can't see it. And then it comes down. So they would throw the bottles off the roofs or up high. So you'd follow the bottle into the light and you couldn't see it till it came back down out of the light.
Oh,
By
man.
that time, it's right on top of you. So I pushed the guy out of the way and goes smash, bam, cracks a whole police car windshield. So then we go gunshots, and then you hear gunshots, and this sergeant goes, "Come with me." He takes like 5 of us. We go into this building, and we get into the building, and there's blood in the hallway, and you can smell the gunpowder, but there's no complaining. So someone got shot and either left the building or went into their house or whatever. So then they're like, okay, let's go up to the roof to look for them. So I went up to the roof and I was like, this is a good place to chill out for the rest of the night, and do a rooftop patrol because you can see from the roof, but you just got to be careful that people aren't shooting from the other rooftops.
Oh my God. You're
Yeah.
talking about this like it's an everyday thing. I've never been in any kind of trouble ever in my whole life. If I was in that situation, I'd be like, you'd have to just just bring me right to the hospital because there's
Yeah.
a possibility. If there's a possibility of violence, I'm scared.
It's easily the most violent parade day in the city.
Really?
Yeah.
I
It's
had no
bad.
idea.
It's bad.
How about like the Puerto Rican Day Parade? Are they friendly?
Oh, well, don't get me wrong. It wasn't that the West Indian Day Parade wasn't friendly. Like I said, there's a
Right,
big
right. At
distinction
night.
between good people and
Right.
majority, the vast overwhelming majority are. However, the city, not under the Giuliani administration, but under the Dinkins administration, under this jackass de Blasio, under his administration, it's, you think you're being friendly to the minority community by not arresting the bad people. You're
Hmm.
not. You're actually doing worse because the single mom who is stuck there who wants to raise her kids doesn't want gunshots. Nobody wants gunshots. Nobody wants robberies and those. But the politicians, since their policies fail, they try and divide and conquer by saying, this is racist, it's a police fault, it's this and that. And you can tell by every democratic liberal run city, the amount of crime that is there, your policies aren't working.
Hmm.
You got bad cops, you fix them, you get them out. But you don't tie the hands of the good cops. You don't get elected on degrading the good cops because you're causing more crime in the community.
Of
You know,
course.
constantly retrain the cops how to speak, constantly retrain them how to communicate, constantly retrain them about respect, because cops forget that because you see so much, number one. Number two, there's no training, or I would say not training, there's no test, really, a real good test to see if cops know how to speak to people when they get on the job. If they were raised poorly, they may put on a good show when they go for the interview. But as soon as they get in the street, they may talk with disrespect. And disrespect to somebody in a minority neighborhood because they've been shit on for so long with systemic racism from the 60s, with the Jim Crow laws and stuff like that, they take disrespect as a high level of escalation. You go
Really?
in, yeah, absolutely. You go in and you go to the minority communities and you say, sir and ma'am, you explain why you stop somebody. You know what I mean? You treat them the way they should be treated with human dignity and respect goes a very, very long way.
Wow,
Very
that's
long way.
interesting. And I'm sure sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, if they're a criminal, it doesn't work for the most
Right.
part. But even when the guys I locked up, when I locked them up, when the cuffs were on, it was over. There wasn't that extra shot. There wasn't any of that. The cuffs are on, the game is over. I don't have to be super nice to you, but if you just did, so if you're a criminal, a lot of criminals are criminals. They're not bad people. They've done bad things. They're in
Right.
bad situations. There is a hierarchy among criminals, right? Pedophiles being the least, right? Beating and robbing the elderly is, a step above the pedophile. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
but if you're robbing somebody or dealing drugs, in their minds, I'm doing what I got to do to survive. So once you
Right.
catch them, the show is over. You know what I mean? So I've arrested guys that, for petty larceny, grand larceny, whatever, and they knew the codes better than I did. So I'm looking up the code, and they're like, I arrested some Spanish guys going, it's 133-42. All right, I looked it up, and sure enough, he was right. So he was helping me out, giving me his name, his information. So I bought him soda and a candy bar while he was in this holding cell, until I get transferred to central booking.
Wow, that's
Just
interesting.
about respect with majority of the guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. I that makes sense. Now, what is the training like? I mean, do they show you films? Do they do like play act? Do they do role play?
Your total role play. There's this place that you're not allowed to call it the fun house, but we call it the fun house.
Mhm.
So they take you up to Rodman's Neck in the Bronx. It's the range. It's the shooting and tactical range. And they built a projects like complex where you have catwalks upstairs. So you sit in the catwalks and you watch what's going on. The training officers and the recruits and the officers when they send you for retraining. And they reenact with police academy instructors who are like improv actors, but not for comedy. And they reenact cases that have happened where cops have gotten shot, cases that have happened that cops have shot people who were not armed. So they
Wow.
reenact those cases or cases similar. So like you would think, like if you arrested a guy, right? If you took a gun off a guy, you would think, okay, I'm going to arrest him, put the cuffs on him, right? Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
What you wouldn't think of is let me finish searching him because a lot of criminals have more than one gun. So, and they hide their guns in the smallest, in the craziest of places. When I was on the job, you'd always get a bulletin that would come out, be on the lookout. There was a teddy bear gun for a while. Yeah, a teddy bear gun, where the gun was inside the teddy bear, and if you grab the teddy bear, it would shoot you through the nose.
Whoa.
a lot of these drug dealers, they custom made their cars so that the guns were hidden in the walls of the car, secret panels, like James Bond type stuff.
Wow.
You know, there was a cop on my beat that was what was his name? It was George Shue, who was there before I was there, and he got shot and killed in the 109 with a pen gun, 22. Shot him. The guy shot him in the eye. Went to to the brain, killed him.
Wow.
You know, so there's things you don't know. The public will never know. You got a jackass up there in the White House going, shoot the gun out of his hand. Okay, shoot the gun out of his hand. This is who's running the show here. Shoot the gun out of his hand. Yeah.
What is this, a Western? He must think it's like, high noon with Gary Cooper.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Let me lasso him first as I ride in. Woo,
You're going to roll over, jump on top of a car, and shoot the guy's gun out of his hand from
exactly.
800 feet
You got me in
away.
rare form tonight, Stevie. I'm not holding back tonight. I'm not holding back.
Wow. See, this is the things that people don't see. There should be more communication between guys like you and guys that are on the force to explain to people. Like, you have to understand what's happening, because we only see like snippets in the news. We see like the end result. We see the worst. We don't know what went on before. We don't know what went on after. You just see that one little spliced moment that's edited, and half the time that's not even true.
That's right.
Boom, it's on the news. It blows up. You got riots.
And the news knows better. But look at it this way. Al Sharpton doesn't exist if there's peace and tranquility.
Right.
He's never created a thing in his life other than anguish. Right. So, and by the way, since I am completely unsuable, I don't give a fuck who I say this about, just to let you know. Okay. I am unsuable. I have a state pension, so I can climb a clock tower and start picking off nuns, and you still can't sue me, just to let you know.
You are free. You are free.
I am free. So I don't care. I have developed in my life, fuck you money. So I'm not wealthy to the point where I can buy yachts like Elmer J. Fudd. Or like Mark Zuckerberg or anyone like that. That I don't have. So God bless you. If that's how you measure success, fine. But my success gets measured in the fact that you can't never have me homeless. Go fuck yourself. Right. I got my medical. I got my house. I got my roof over my head.
Good for you.
And I have my peace of mind that says I don't bow down to anybody in this 1930s Nazi Germany crap we're facing now. So go fuck yourself.
Boy, you're in rare form tonight. Good for you. So,
rare form, buddy.
Yeah. So how long were you NYPD? How long did you do that?
Little less than 7 years. I got hurt. Broke my gun hand 3 times. And I herniated a disc in my neck jumping down a flight of stairs.
Wow. So 7 years, that's not that long. I mean, it's
not.
Was that like your first job? Did you like come out of high school and become a cop or something? Or
no. I was a boxer for an amateur fighter.
Really?
And so I wanted to turn pro, and there was a guy, Darren Schoolboy Van Horn, who used to fight out of the University of Kentucky on CBS. And maybe it was NBC, I forget, but back in the day they had those Saturday afternoon fights. And he would sell out the campus. And I was like, man, that's really cool. So I went to University of Hartford for a year, and I fought and I learned. I sparred. I didn't really get I had one fight there, and it's a gym fight, nothing really big. They used to call him a smoker back in the day, and they called him smoker because now people vape, but in those days people smoke.
Right.
So nobody thought about telling people don't smoke in the arena. So the arenas would fill up with smoke.
Yeah.
I remember having a trainer during a sparring section had a cigarette dangling out, of his mouth. I'm like, I can't fucking breathe. What are you doing? Oh. Am I allowed to curse on here? I shouldn't curse, right?
You already did, so I guess of course you are.
So I went over to Hofstra, and I just looking for a place to work out. I went to a gym. And a guy saw me, and he's like, you look like you got fast hands. I'd like to train you. I said, I really don't want to do this. I just really want to train to get in shape. I'm not really a weightlifter. And the way I got through college was I was a male dancer. So I wanted to keep in shape.
You were what? You were a male dancer?
Yeah, I was a male dancer. So I was making good money, and it paid for Hofstra's expensive. So it paid for a lot of my schooling. And
wait, back up. You mean like a Chippendale guy, or were you like just
like a Chippendale guy, but it wasn't as big as those guys. Those guys were when those guys were a lot more famous than me. I did a lot of home parties, a lot of bachelorette parties, birthday parties,
all right.
Divorce parties.
You were like a stripper.
I call it a male dancer, whatever. But yeah, I was a stripper. Thanks, Steven. Thanks for lowering the bar on that.
Well,
Appreciate
hey, that's all right. You made money,
it.
so
No. But I made money. I
well,
mean, I remember 1987, the biggest weekend I ever made was $1,100. 1987.
really,
Yeah.
wow.
Which is nice for 20. I was 20 years old in 1987. 20 years old. I had 2 cars. I had
See,
2 cars and I had my
I couldn't
own.
be a stripper because I mean, I'd be like, I'd have to give refunds at the end. Could they have like a coin? I'd have to have one of those coin things, to give change back. Okay, so you get out of high school, you're dancing for money, you're
Yeah.
boxing.
Yeah. So Mr. Howard
Why
Davis
don't this is
Sr.
your parents must have been so proud of you.
Well, my mother, she's like, you know what? You're earning money, whatever. Go ahead. My father passed away when I was a kid, but I'm sure he would have liked it.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he would have been like, that's my boy.
That's my boy.
So
That's funny.
Mr. Davis came over to me and he said, I like what I see and I'd like to train you. I said, I really don't want to fight. I had a
Right.
couple of fights. I really don't want to. I really just want to get in shape. He said, well, I'm Howard Davis Sr. And I knew who he was because when he said that, his son, Howard Davis Jr., won the Val Barker Trophy and the gold medal in the 1976 Olympics in Montreal.
Wow.
Yeah. So when someone like that sees you and says you have talent, you know what I mean? So I said, boy, I thought about it. I was like, man, I come from a poor background. I really would like to own a house one day, So, Darren Schoolboy Van Horn is doing it and he's fighting at the University of Kentucky. Maybe I can do it,
Right, yeah.
Well, anyway, I had 21 fights. I went, I can't remember if I went 15-6 or 16-5. So I don't want to be a liar, but
That's not bad.
yeah, I'd like to say 16-5, but I'm pretty sure it was 15-6.
Now, what grade? What were you, like lightweight, heavyweight? What's the
Junior welterweight, 139.
Okay.
So, I had some fights, and then my trainer, Howard Davis, he brought down this manager who was the co-manager of Jerry Cooney to see me work out and spar.
Jerry Cooney, yeah.
And the guy's name was Mike Jones, and he's like, he's pretty good. He's a little green, but he's pretty good. Maybe we could do something with him. But then my mother developed breast cancer, and so I was graduating college, and I already had my 21 fights. And it's time to turn pro, and I was like, you know what? I'm graduating. My mother's sick. Mike Jones just passed away with cancer. It was pretty aggressive. He passed away, and I was like, I can't afford to not work, So I left. I became it was during the Gulf War there was a recession. So I got out 1990 of college, and Stratton Oakmont was hiring from the Wolf of Wall Street. So I went to work as a cold caller, and I told my buddy Ray, I was like, Ray, this ain't for me, but you may like it, I said, I don't like the way these guys talk to me or talk to others. They didn't talk to me that way, but the way they held their meetings,
Yeah.
So Ray came down. He ended up going to jail. He's all right. Good guy. He turned his life. He's a good guy. Good guy. He's got a great life out in Vegas now. But I became a pharmaceutical rep. I was doing well with that. But I always
So you were a stripper and now you're dealing drugs.
Yep. Stripper and drug dealer. Total man of the streets. First I was a stripper. Then I was a thug beating people up. And then I was dealing drugs. And I said, what do those 3 things have in common? Police officer.
I'm seeing a pattern.
So it's a natural progression to be a New York City police officer.
Yes. You already had all the training right there. I mean, you
had all the training, yeah. That's right. It's perfect. So I became a cop. And I loved it. And it was probably the single best decision career-wise I ever made. The stuff I learned from the great guys and girls that I learned it from, smartest people, common sense, and streetwise. I mean, stupid in other ways, because we all have our stupidities,
right.
As a group. But the individuals that I met, boy, man, were they smart, and I still marvel at the way they can spot a gun or the way they were able to assess a situation in a split second and de-escalate. The guys I admire were always the de-escalators, where I would go in as a 24-year-old guy going, oh, okay, this is going to be physical. And I got a guy who's 40 or something and de-escalates like that, And say what you want about Giuliani. I mean, I don't like him because he didn't give us a raise. He went back on his word. but the guy implemented a plan or put people in place to implement a plan to bring New York City back. But the one thing Giuliani always stressed was let all the facts come in before you rush to judgment. And we don't do that as a society anymore. And you have to garner all, the only way you'll improve, whether you like it or not, is to get all the facts, whether it be left or right. You need all the facts, because if you're in the right, you want, not on the right, in the right, you want all of the facts to come in so you can prove your case going, all the facts came in and it proves you wrong. So I don't want to shut you out. I want the fact, because if you are right, then let's work together and fix it, because it's going to behoove both of us. You don't have that now. You haven't had that in 12 years.
Yeah, it's been downhill ever since. Now it's all guilty before proven innocent, and
That's right. No matter what you put it on Facebook or you put it on Twitter, and all of a sudden, it's law. Obviously, it's definitely real. It's right. It's correct.
Court of public opinion. That's it.
That's right. That's right.
It's very scary. And you got 14-year-old girls with blue hair and a nose ring making a decision.
They're called fact checkers.
Fact checkers.
Yeah. And Facebook.
With no facts. With no facts.
Yeah. Here.
Wow.
This is this is what you hear from every fact checker in Facebook. Ma, I told you I'm working. I'm working, Ma. Can my friends sleep over tonight? Oh, this is a bunch of fucking bullshit, man. That's a fact checker.
Meatloaf, Ma.
That's the fact checker.
That's from Wedding Crashers. That was Will Ferrell's famous line.
I know what it was from.
Meatloaf, Ma.
I don't know what she's doing back there.
That's right. That was the only funny part of that whole movie for me. I thought it was okay,
really?
But that part made me laugh.
I'm a big Vince Vaughn fan, so I love him.
I love Vince Vaughn. I like him too.
Yeah, I thought that whole movie was funny.
It was funny. It was funny. Anyway, so you're a cop for 7 years, and then where did comedy come in? Where did you ever do stand up, or did you just jump into improv? You did do stand up.
No, I did stand up. I was real lucky. I did it at the best place, the old East Side Comedy with Richie Minervini's club.
Oh, okay. All right. That was a little before me.
Yeah, so I did it. It was great. And I was in college doing it. That's why I gave comedy up, because I was a pretty decent fighter. And I couldn't be in college and, working and doing comedy. I just couldn't. So I said, you know what? I made a decision at that day. I remember the day I walked out. It was a snowy January day at the club on a Wednesday night when they had the Laughter Company there. Bob Nelson, Joan St. Ange, Dave Hawthorne, and Vinnie Mark.
I know them all.
And it was like a crowd of like 8 people. And get all dressed up. When you're doing open mics and you're trying new material, it's very exciting I'm going to do, and hopefully I'll have a great set. You want to carry that momentum. But when you get a couple of bad nights, of bad sets, and you're looking around, there's 8 people, and you're like,
what am I doing here?
What am I doing here? What am I doing? I just, I saved all day. I rested. I got my clothes ready, because in those days you didn't wear ripped jeans and T-shirts like these jamokes today. You wore something nice on stage.
Right.
It was a nice thing. And I went and I walked out. It was a snowy night. I was like, I missed the gym for this. I missed my workout with Mr. Davis for this. This isn't worth it, man. I can fight. I can make money.
Right.
And so I said, comedy will always be here, and I didn't go back until years later, till after I was a cop, till after I got hurt as a cop.
Right. And were you always funny? I mean, what I like asking comedians this question, and they never answer it seriously. But what age were you when you discovered you were funny?
I remember.
Don't say in the womb. I'll punch you right in the mouth. That's in the womb.
About 7 or 8 years old. My father passed away when I was 10, but I remember the first recollection I had. I was in the back seat. He had a big Plymouth Fury, and the seat belts in the back were going click, 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 click. They would chat. They were like, it wasn't secure. No one seat belts. You got a seatbelt. What's a seatbelt? If you were more a seatbelt, you're a wuss. Seatbelt. What are you, fucking homo wearing a seatbelt?
Especially in the back seat. Who wears a seatbelt in the back seat?
Seatbelt.
They were usually jammed under the seat. You didn't even know where the seatbelts were in the back seats of those old cars.
Exactly. Because in those days, you called people names. You don't do it today, So, but yeah, so I wore a seatbelt. I didn't wear a seatbelt. The seatbelt was going to. So my old man goes, "What is that noise?" And it was winter time, so we got in the car, So I go, "It's my teeth chattering. I'm freezing." So he started laughing. My mother was laughing. And they were like, wow, you are quick. And everybody, like families and stuff, I was always quick with it. My father and my mother were very funny people. Very funny people. Different types of funny, but very funny. My father was like a Dean Martin Rat Pack type, smooth, funny, good looking guy.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's when I thought. And then when my father passed and my brother passed, my surviving brother and mother, they fell into a deep depression. We really didn't have a whole lot, we
Yeah.
public assistance type thing, and the veterans benefits for my father passing away, being a World War II vet. We had moved out from Brooklyn, being Italian and Jewish, so we didn't tell him we were Italian. There's another story behind that, but we was raised as Jewish, and there was a lot of anti-Semitism because they were using bullying. They were bullying my brother and using anti-Semitism as just one of the tools, So they set our garbage cans on fire. They chlorine bombed our house,
Oh
and
my God.
they burned a swastika on the front lawn. So it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. And they would constantly pick on my older brother. He wasn't a fighter, and I saw he had no friends, depression, caused a lot of issues in the house. But I would go, we had one TV in my mother's room. So we'd watch TV in my mother's in the bedroom. And then I would leave the bedroom when times were bad. And I'd go to a linen closet next to the bedroom. I'd go in and I'd take like towels out or whatever was there. And I'd put a coat on, and come back in as a different character, an old lady, an old Jewish guy, or an old Jewish woman, or an Italian guy from the neighborhood back in Brooklyn or whatever, somebody that we knew. And I would mimic them, and I would do them, and I would improv.
Mhm.
And I saw like them laughing, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. That the laughter is really, and I do this at my shows, it's such a salve, it brings people together. It really,
Yeah,
really does. You know,
absolutely.
you don't care if the person's right, left, black, white, yellow, whatever. You're laughing. You're laughing. Knock it off. You're laughing. Come on, we're laughing. We're having a good time. What feels better than laughing and toasting and cheering, right? All
Yeah,
things can be worked out over laughing and goofing around.
I agree.
So, and I liked it. And then I liked being a cop because it wasn't laughter, but it was making people feel good. It was helping people
Hmm.
get if people can just put what they think are problems. Some people really have problems, no joke. But most of us don't really have problems. Shakespeare said, nothing is neither good nor bad. It is thinking that makes it so. The weight of your problem is all upon how you measure the weight, right? Some
Yeah,
people don't give a rat's ass about money and they're fine. Other people who money is their God. If they don't have money, they're depressed. They pull their hair out of their head,
hmm
right? It
yeah,
depends. To me, it's health. To me, health is the most important thing, you know?
yeah.
Other than that, I don't know. I got friends that are millionaires and they just don't never seem happy, whatever. I don't know. I got friends that aren't. It depends. It depends what you measure it. But I was very blessed to have two careers that I was able to really see a difference in helping people,
Hmm.
and met some great people on the cop side, and I met some jackasses as cops that I'm like, you embarrass me. And I met some great people as entertainers, and I also met some entertainers and they say, you embarrass me.
Of course.
So it happens. That's in every profession. I think people really gotta stop throwing stones and look, just like Giuliani said, let the facts come in, judge people on what, the situation they're in, perhaps. Don't just jump right away and say guilty, 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 you know?
Well, yeah, you got to give everybody the opportunity to explain what happened. They were in the situation. Explain what
Yeah,
happened. Let's find out
exactly.
what the story is. That's why they have a commission that sits down and reviews
Right,
all the facts and what happened. And
right.
they're tough. I don't know. I watch television shows with cops, and it seems like in real life, because I think it's based on real life, they're tough on the cops when they do like internal. What do they
They
call
are
it?
most departments are really tough.
Yeah, they're tough. They're not going to let you off easy because you're a cop. If
No,
anything, they're harder on you. It's like,
exactly. And
why did you fire your gun? I mean, they want to know.
that's right. And I don't have a problem with that as long as they don't try to make an
Internal
example out of
affairs. That was it. Internal
it. Yeah,
affairs.
internal affairs. And I don't have a problem with that. I never had a problem with there were two things, the NYPD, internal affairs and inspections. I never had a problem with internal affairs. I had a problem with inspections because they're a bunch of rat fucks. Because inspections are necessary evil because you got to find out who's signing out early. That I get. But don't bang a guy because he went into a sandwich shop and he didn't put his tie on correctly. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
mean, those inspections, guys, I swear to God, I kid you not. cops have chased somebody, their hat, gotten out of the car and run without their hat. Back in my day, I don't know what it's like now, but in my day, you run without a hat, right? Summertime, you didn't put your hat on when you're chasing the guy down the street. Inspection shows up and bangs you for not wearing a hat. What? Are you kidding me?
And what do they do when you say bang you? They give you a fine, or it's like a demerit?
It's equivalent to a fine. They write you up, and then your CO, your commanding officer, decides what to do with you. But if you get enough of them, the CO's hands are tied, and he's got to show discipline, right? So, they give it's called the command discipline. It's called a CD. So they give you a CD, command discipline, because it goes back to your command, and your commanding officer dishes out any kind of what it would be punishment or warn and admonish. But if you get 5 or 6 of them, he's got to do something. So the more active you are, the more it stands to reason you're jeopardizing some sort of procedural error.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue I have. I got one. I was on the desk one night when I broke my hand. Guy calls up. He says, "Oh, there's a guy outside my house." I said, "So ask him to move." And he goes, "No. I mean, to me, it was the guy's outside my house. Did you ask him to move? He goes, "No, I don't." I go, "Listen, if you're afraid of him, we'll send the unit out. Is he threatening in any manner?" "No, he's not threatening." So, well, he's allowed to. I'm not understanding the call, because I can't tell somebody to move along. That's exactly what they tell us not to do, right? You're picking on someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's America. Unfortunately, New York City, you can be outside of on the sidewalk. You can, unless he's loitering. Is he doing something that's causing an alarm? So the guy wouldn't give me a real answer. So I go, "Okay, I'll tell you what. If you tell him he's alarm," he goes, "I don't want to do it. I'm afraid of him." Now you just told me he's a threat, right? That's what I would think. You're afraid of him.
Yeah.
So I was on the telephone switchboard. It's easier for me, because if I put you through to 911, they have the rundown of where all the units are. So I said, "I'm going to put you through to 911. Just tell them your situation. They'll send the car out." Do you know that was a setup call from inspections to see how I would handle the call? And they ended up giving me a CD for it, because they said I should have sent the car out, not sent it over to 911.
Oh, man.
That's what I mean by setting people up for stupidity. You know what I mean? I'm doing my
sabotage.
job. Yeah, I wasn't shit canning the job. I wasn't sitting there blowing the guy off. I was literally trying to find out what was going on. Because if you're telling me it's a real dire thing, you know what I mean? I can just click right over. But it's not a dire thing. 911 knows which cars are in the area more than I do. I mean, so I tried to handle it. Maybe you didn't like the way it, but to give me a CD, come on, say I blew it off. I didn't blow it off. It was stupid. I mean, the captain didn't do anything. He just said warn and admonish.
Right,
but still, right. It makes me feel like, you're out there just to get the officer, and that's not a good unit.
That's a shame. Okay, so you tell me a little bit about, let's switch careers again. You ended up in improv. How did that happen? Was that Joan St. Ange?
Joan, who was one of the best improv teachers around at that time, really taught a whole lot of people, and I thank her for it. Mm-hmm. And that was in the old East Side Comedy Club, and I learned it.
I took her class a couple of times at McGuire's. That was a few years later, and she was doing
McGuire's.
Yeah,
that's right. I took it at McGuire's too. It was fun.
Maybe that's where I met you.
Maybe.
I can't place it. It might have been Brokerage or McGuire's. It was one of those, and it was fun. It was like she charged like $10. It was really cheap. And you paid like $10. You got like a couple of hours.
Yeah, it was fun. And she split it with the club owner when the club owners were good. Actually, the club owner's good now. I still like the guy who owns Governors, Jamie. I like him a lot, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I think he's been great to me. He and I had a real good rapport when he was looking at the brokerage to buy it. And, I like the way he handles himself. He dresses up. He's a gentleman. He's been honest with me for the last 15 years, and I respect him immensely for it. I don't play the club very often. No, it just doesn't fit into the schedules. You know what I mean? It just hasn't lined up, but not for any other reason. We have played it in the back room, and he's given us a great, sweet deal. But every time I go in there, it's with respect, and that's all I ask of someone is respect.
No, you're right. No, right. He is very respectful. He's a really good guy. I like him.
He's a true gentleman.
100%. 100%. But it's a weird dynamic over there. But you're right. It is. It's cliquey, and you're right. It doesn't fit for me either. It's just. Right. I like that little room in the back was fun. I don't know if it's coming back. Who the hell knows what's going on with all this? I don't like to discuss. I don't use the C word on my show, COVID.
I know. I use it as a curse word. He's a Cuomo.
Yeah, Cuomo and COVID. Cuomo. We got two new C words, COVID and Cuomo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about so you got into improv. That's fun. And you
Yeah,
enjoy that as much as stand up or you do, I mean, I don't
I
remember
really didn't enjoy
stand up.
stand up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Stand up made me nervous. Stand up made me have to think.
Mm.
Um, Thinking's not. I'm not as quick as you have to hit your note. Improv to me was natural. I was from Brooklyn and I was a cop. So all you do in Brooklyn, right? It's quick-witted people. You know, it's back and forth. It's one up. If you don't know how to speak in Brooklyn, you're going to get lost in the shuffle real fast. You
Yeah.
know,
I'm a Brooklyn guy
and
too. Now that's weird that
right,
you
you
say
know,
that because you would think that improv would be harder because you have to think on the spot. Where stand up, you have your routine and it's not like
you
that.
have to think. You have to think, but you can't think ahead. That's the thing.
You have to be in
You
the
know,
moment.
you have to be in the moment because if you think ahead, improv doesn't work.
Mm.
Because I'm thinking to fit that line, and it's just simply not going to work. So improv, you got to know the rules so you break the rules. So the reason that my improv act is different, we're not five people up there getting a suggestion and go for a long way for a short laugh. We use the audience members in every bit we do.
Yeah.
So what we do is we make the audience member look like a superstar. Nobody does that. So all the other improv troops try to make themselves look like a superstar. We make
Mm.
the audience member look like a superstar. So what we do is we give the offer, the audience member gives the reaction, and then where our talent comes in, is being quicker than the rest of the audience in justifying that action. So if you do a sound effect and I'm ringing the bell and she doesn't see it, or maybe I'm knocking on the door, better example, I'm knocking on the door and she goes knock, 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 right? Or she goes bam, 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 two completely different sound effects.
Mm.
Right? So I gotta have my reactions in the holster justifying what she just said. So if I go like this, if I knock on the door and she goes, right? That doesn't sound like a knock. It sounds like a gunshot. So I duck and go, gunshots. Now, if I go like this and she goes, and he just goes, and my partner goes, come in. Well, the audience is going, that doesn't sound like a knock. You already got it. You're thinking ahead. You have to wait for what they say, then be able to justify it. It's yes and in a very quick way. And I work with, a couple of the funniest guys, man. So, I mean, and they know their bit, they know their
Yeah, well,
stuff.
Vinny is incredible. You two guys are so
Vinny's
good
great.
together. I love what you do. And
Vinny's great. And for a long, long
yeah,
time, until COVID, I worked with Al
yep.
Isaacs. I don't know what's happening with that. If he comes back, I don't know how he feels. So
Mhm.
eventually, we'll figure out what's going on. But you got to give credit where credit's due. And Al's one of the best on stage improvising. And we were great because he did one part, I did the other. He did the introduction, and I played another completely part. So he was able to make a living room audience out of 350 people.
Wow. Yeah.
And I was able to bring out the Dean Martin-esque quality, if you will. I'm not Dean Martin. I'm not Dean Martin. Don't get that. Don't misconstrue that. But the no responsibility, fun-loving people see. I can't get away with certain things on stage that Al and Vinny can, and they can't get away with certain things that I can. Just can't.
Okay. All
It's
right.
just the way it is. It's a personality. Can you do certain things on stage that sometimes you can't get away with them? But sometimes they work for you. Everyone
Right.
likes you, your likability on stage. If you went on stage and you started
Thanks.
ripping into people, it wouldn't work for you.
You're right. You're right. And I've tried that and it didn't work. And they said, well, what are you doing? Like if I curse too much, it's like, it's not you.
That's
It's
right.
not you.
It's
Don't
not
do that.
you. Dice
And
Clay can curse. It's
yeah.
him. I don't ask me why. I mean, I probably know why certain times. I don't want to say it. For certain
Right.
people, it works. For certain people, it doesn't.
Mhm.
You know, if you get a good-looking guy up there and he starts bragging about all the girls he's with, he's going to look like an ass. He's going to look like an egotistical asshole. He can't do it. But if you get a moderate-looking guy that says he went out with this girl and he starts telling dating jokes, he can get away with it.
Right. You
If
have
you
to
get
be
a not
believable. The audience has to believe you. That's really the most
absolutely,
important thing.
it's why
And they have to like you.
right. It's why Amy Schumer wrote that ridiculous movie where she said that every guy was into her. What was that movie she did?
I don't pay that much attention now, but I think I know what
Yeah,
you mean.
yeah. Half the world doesn't either, but because she's on a TV show or whatever. I mean, look, that's the injustice. She went in, she ripped into the guy from Mohegan Sun, the guy Mike who owns Mohegan Sun. He
Yeah.
paid her $250,000 for a gig, and she went on a radio show saying what
What?
an ass he is. Yeah, and he's one of the nicest guys, believe it or not, and he's honest with you. He's honest. All you can ask for is honesty. He'll tell you, listen, I got a casino. My room's in a casino. if you're not somebody, I don't need to pay you, Scott. No offense, because I could put anybody up there and I have X amount of people who are going to come see my show because it's in a casino. So I hire guys who are names, and they bring more people because I have X amount of people from the casino, but I want to get a filled room. So I bring a name in. And you know what? I can't argue with that. So what does he do? He gives me a Sunday night. He gives us our own show. He got Bud Light to sponsor it.
Wow.
And we were doing real well for a long time with it. And the guy turned me on to Scotch. I love it. He got me interested in Scotch. I was a tequila guy because of Mike. I'm now a Scotch man. I love it.
That's what you're drinking now?
Well, no, this is iced tea.
Oh, okay.
But I do have a Scotch ready to go after this.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to go on a Zoom with one of my friends who's in Virginia, and we're going to have a Scotch together.
There you go. That's a nice idea. I don't drink at all, but that's all right. No.
You find a lot of comedians drink before they go up on stage?
I don't know. I never thought about that. I've seen a few drink. I've seen a few drink on stage.
We used to as part of the act. We don't do it anymore.
After the show.
Yeah,
I would have if I have a drink, it's like one beer. Maybe I'll have one beer. It loosens me up a little bit. But
you're a very likable guy on stage. I've seen people just like you, man.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I think likability is the most important thing. I think here's the way I look at it is if you're likable, your material doesn't have to be A because they like you. But
Agreed.
if you can have killer material, but if they don't like you, they don't like you. You can have the best jokes in the world. It's like, I don't like this guy. It's just, but if they like you, they'll forgive you if your joke isn't that great. So I think likability is number one. And then material.
Yeah.
Persona and all that other stuff. But I think likability is the most important thing. And they have to like you right away. They have to like you like as soon as you hit. Because I think people make up their minds very quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely right. As soon as you come up to the stage, if you carry yourself, if you're an arrogant guy or if you're a very good looking woman and you come off like you're bitchy, you can turn people off. I tell people when I teach the improv classes, I tell them stay away from political humor. Yeah. You may think it's cute, but even just a mention by today's day and age turns off half the audience. Sorry?
Especially now, it's worse than ever.
Turns off half the audience. And unless you want to be known for that, then it's fine. That's fine. But I'm just telling you, if you're going to dabble in it, it's not going to work. You either go on all politicians, right? Not a specific or a specific politician for a specific general gander, a general goof, that he made. Or she made, then that could be funny because everybody can agree upon it. But today's day and age, even if you do that, it's, if you made fun of him for his shoes that he just wore, then apparently you don't like his policy. I don't know what that means. Like if you could sit there and go okay, this is, do you like the way I dress? Right? This is more boring than a Hillary Clinton pantsuit. Boo! You just made fun of Hillary Clinton. 20 years ago, that could be a goof. I'm not making fun of her. It's her pantsuit. She wears pantsuit. I think everybody knows she wears pantsuit. Not making any fun of her whatsoever. But her pantsuit. Donald Trump's hair. Everybody knows his hair is crazy. Come on. Not making fun of Trump. You make fun of his hair, right? But people take it that way.
Well, the problem with political humor is one major problem is all the late night guys are doing it. So you're not going to write a better joke than them. Even their jokes suck. But
you're not writing a better joke either.
You're not going to. You're not writing good jokes either. But you're not going to write. What are you doing? You're just piling on. Unless you're extremely funny, unless you come up with something so incredibly funny, don't bother. Don't even touch it.
Yeah, agreed.
Same thing with like filthy, like dirty blue. And I don't have a problem with blue comics. But to me, if you're going to be blue, you got to be really funny to be blue.
Be creative.
Yeah.
Be creative.
Yeah.
It's like sitting there going, if you liken it to the most common denominator of bad humor is bathroom humor.
Right. Yeah. Scatological. Yeah.
Yeah. How many number two jokes can you say? If you talk about your little kid or but how many times so on this date, my stomach's going, where do you go from there? Everybody's done it. It's like a female comedian talking about PMS. All right, we get it.
Yeah.
But you talk about something that everybody can relate to.
What I don't understand is when you get a really nice looking female comic talking about how she can't get a date. That
That's what I
confuses
mean. Perfect. Unrealistic.
every guy in the audience. They're like, what are you talking about? What's the problem? I don't
Right.
get it.
Or Amy Schumer talking about how many guys want her. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what? Who wants
Something's
you? What are
wrong
you
there.
talking about? Yeah.
She looks like a potato. What's going on here?
Yeah. What's going on? Who you want everyone what? Am I what is it? Do we have bad seats? Is the lighting bad in here? What are you talking about? Everyone wants you. You wrote a whole movie based on everybody wanting you.
Oh
I
my
mean, are you
God.
kidding me? You know,
I
what
heard
what
I
what
heard a bad story about not to hit people down, but you already did.
screw up.
So you already did. I was at a Bay Street Theater. You know Bay Street Theater in Sag Harbor, beautiful
Yeah,
place.
beautiful theater. Love it.
Love it. And I went in there my first time. I was opening for was it Kevin Pollock? Kevin Pollock.
Oh, he's a good actor. I like.
Oh my God, his stand-up was incredible. The guy does the
Yeah.
best William Shatner. He told stories. He told stories about how he would goof on people. He would call
Uh,
people up in other voices. He called up Alan Arkin and said he was William Shatner because they're
oh God, I
friends.
love it.
And he invited him to a place and he showed up. So he thought he was going to meet William Shatner. It was Kevin Pollock. And he would
Oh,
do
that's
shit
great.
like that to people. So funny. But I went in there and the guy who booked the place was Gary something. And he's not there anymore. I forgot his last name. He had a weird last name. Nice guy. First thing he says, do you know Amy Schumer? I'm like, I know who she is. He goes, she is such a horrible. He told me this whole story about what a bitch she was when she showed up there. I'm like, what
I've
a
heard.
horrible thing to like have that, trail of horror
I
that
know.
he has to tell me, another comic, about how horrible this person is. I'm like,
Well, she
that's
must
a
have been
shame.
so bad that he probably said
Yeah.
to himself, "I'm going to tell everybody in the business."
And that's the other thing. He didn't tell just me. I'm sure he tells everybody. Do you know Amy Schumer? I'm like,
Well, I'm judging my stuff on interviews that I've heard her actually do,
yeah,
and since she badmouthed a friend of mine, then the gloves come off
yeah.
because I know this man, and you're trying to ruin him, and that's not true. It's simply not. And he gave you $250,000.
That's I can't even imagine making that kind of money. What were they charging per ticket? Like $8,000 a ticket? How big is that room?
Well, he's at Mohegan Sun now, but he had Foxwoods, and they had a deal where they could book all three rooms. We had his comedy club, which held 4 and change. Then they had the theater, which I believe, oh boy, no, 5,000 wouldn't be right. I want to say the theater held 1,500. Then they have the big room, which is 5,000.
Okay, so
So you
that's a
can
lot of
book all
people.
three. And since she did her shows, she gets a following. But you talk to some of these, I talk to club owners, and they're like, listen, to talk about the state of comedy today, and they get YouTubers who simply aren't funny, but they got to
Oh
follow
yeah,
them. And
yeah.
these YouTubers, they book them and they sell out 5 shows. And all of a sudden they get them in there, and these guys do 8 minutes worth of material.
Because that's all
And
they have.
that's all they got. And people walk out going, I don't want to sound like I'm an idiot and just paid this money to see this guy and he was terrible, so I'll say it was okay. But the club owner's happy because the guy sold out 5 shows on a door deal. So great. I'll give you also 5 sold out shows and 2 drink minimum and eating food and everything that. You got a 300-person room. It's a home run for the owner. Didn't cost him a goddamn penny.
They don't care if the guy's funny.
No, and it's $13 a drink. Are you kidding me? These drunk morons that follow the YouTuber guy. Come on, give me a break. So they're happy, but then they say, listen, they never come back because once they drench that area and they realize they're not happy and they're not funny, they don't come back again to see them.
Yeah,
but they get the
kind of
YouTube
disappear.
following because YouTube, all you do is a 30-second clip. It makes you funny and it's edited, So unlike a guy like Vic DiBenedetto, who was funny prior to his bread and milk clip, who was a great stand-up comedian prior to.
Yeah, 100%.
So when people will notice him on YouTube with his bread and milk video,
he
and they
was
went to
already
see him,
a headliner.
he's already a headliner. The guy's a great comedian. So he's like, people go and see him like, oh, this is Vic. Wow, his whole stand-up is funny,
Right.
So I mean, for him it works great because he can keep the following going.
No, I like Vic. Yeah, he was always nice to me. I've worked with him a bunch of times. I always thought he was hilarious. And a lot of people gave him a lot of crap for that, that bread and milk.
Yeah.
Because it's a hacky bit. But
who cares?
So what? Who cares? Guy got 20 million hits on it. So good for him.
So it's hacky, but he's the one that made it. He's the one who's smart enough to make it work, lucky enough, whatever, use whatever word you want. Good for
You
him.
think he knew that was going to hit that big? There's no way he knew. Because
No,
he
he
was
didn't.
doing
Because
those little
I remember,
vignettes. He was doing them a lot. He did a lot of them before that, and they would
yeah,
get like 100 views, 50
that's right.
views,
Just
like
it took
us.
off because we were getting swamped
And then all of a
with,
sudden, bread and milk, and it's like just the
yeah,
floodgates open.
because we were getting swamped that year with
Yeah,
snowstorms in the Northeast. So it
yeah,
took off, and good for him. I'd
good for
rather see
him.
somebody like that make it than Wallow who's a great comedian, getting $300 here or there. I mean, good for
Yeah,
him. And I know people are mad. It's like, well, he didn't put me in this. He doesn't take. He's not obligated to do that for you. It's just, if he does it for you, fantastic. But he's not obligated.
so
You
much
know.
bitterness. It's so much bitterness. It's
Yeah.
so, and it's I always joke around. I say there's 5 stages. Want to hear my 5 stages of comedy? You ready? 5 stages
Yeah.
of comedy. First stage is awakening, right? You first do it, it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is it. I finally found my purpose in life, right?
Right.
Second stage is delusion. Oh, I'm going to be a star. I'm going to be the biggest thing ever, right? Delusion. Then it's disillusion. Oh, this business is shitty. What kind of business is this? I don't get it. Then it's bitterness, which is bad. We
Yeah.
all know what bitterness is. Why him and not me? That's a bad
Yeah.
place to be. And then finally, fifth stage, acceptance. I do it. I love it. I'm happy. If nothing happens, I still do it. I still love it. I'm still happy.
Very astute. That covers it all. That is really
Covers
perfect.
it all. And they're all interchangeable. We all fall into that delusion
Yeah.
stage. Oh, this could be it. I
Yeah.
got an AGT audition. This could be it. It's that
Yeah.
delusion. And then you get
Yeah.
disillusioned again, and then you get bitter again, and then you
I
accept
think a
it.
lot of people are bitter now. Well, maybe
Yeah.
they're disillusioned. I was just say bitter because of the pandemic and Cuomo shut everything down, but
I
I
don't know
don't
what we
know.
are. Now we're depressed. I think that's
Yeah,
stage
very
6.
depressed. 'Cause I'm an upbeat guy, and if I can be depressed, I can only imagine. I know guys that they lost all their cruises, man. You
Oh,
know, I
yeah.
mean, cruises pay good money, and they
Yeah,
paid
Jeff
better
Norris.
back in.
Jeff Norris lost like
As
his
I
whole
was thinking.
career. And Jeff is a great guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, and he's good comedian.
Fantastic. It's fantastic. And
Audiences love him. Old school, dresses up. You
yeah,
know,
and I see
you
some
know.
of his Facebook posts and I worry about him. I really do. I worry. I'm like,
Yeah,
are you okay, man? Yeah.
yeah.
Hang
I've
in
reached
there.
out to him because he's the one who pushed all his chips in the middle for this career.
Yeah. There's a lot of them like that.
Hmm.
Paul Bond is another one, another friend I
Yeah,
know for 100 years. And,
yeah.
he's
He
dying.
pushed all his chips in, man.
Yeah. You feel like you got to go all in. That's what it's all about. I think it was Mel Brooks said, you can't dip your toe in the water of show business.
You really can't. I mean, you
I
can
love
hope and
that.
pray with YouTubers maybe, but to get a big one, but you really can't. I remember talking to. I mean, you can if you just like doing it in the open mics, you just want to do it and you love it. It's fine. But if you're gonna make a living out of it, you're traveling and you're booking. And how do you
Yeah.
go? Like when I was a cop, if I didn't get hurt, I wouldn't be able to do this because you can't wake up. You can't be in Philly on a Friday night and wake up for Saturday morning roll call. It's 7
Right.
a.m. You just
Yeah.
can't do it.
Right.
It's impossible. You can go hit the city clubs for fun, but even then, man, your roll call is 7 a.m. in Queens or Brooklyn or whatever, Manhattan. You don't get home till 6, or you're going to go to a club at late night and get a spot. Maybe if you're city club, maybe you'll get a spot. Maybe, you're not getting home till midnight. Then you got to get back up at 5 a.m. to be at work at 7. And then if you get a collar, you got overtime, some jackass robs an old lady at 2:30 in the afternoon. All of a sudden, you're doing paperwork till 11 at night.
Mm.
I mean, it's just not conducive. Can it be done? Yeah, I guess, but it's really hard.
Yeah.
Really, really hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I know. So,
Yeah.
what are you doing now? I mean, are you doing any Zoom shows? Are you
I did a Zoom teaching show for AARP for improv. They loved it. It was great. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
I've been one of the fortunate ones to be working when we can with the resorts. We get booked at Woodloch Pines all the time. And we
Yeah.
get booked at Rocking Horse Ranch. I don't know what's going to happen this summer. I'm hoping, the powers that be stop politicizing this and say, you know what? When they say follow the science, you're not following the science. You're following the science, this thing, you wouldn't have had to shut down the economies because the states that didn't shut down, their numbers are better than the ones that did. You're not being honest with yourself, and you're politicizing it, and you're making whatever Trump said. The ones that hate Trump, they go the opposite way. And it's the other way too. If you're a blind follower of Trump, then everything should be open. Nobody should be wearing masks.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a common ground of common sense in between. I never had a problem wearing a mask. I remember when they said don't wear a mask, when Fauci said don't wear a mask.
Right.
And I said to myself, I go, well, common sense would be my spit, doesn't that stop it a little? Maybe not a whole lot, but isn't it better than breathing on somebody?
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, why would doctors in an operating room wear a mask? Why would it,
Exactly.
I mean? So it's like, I don't know, wearing a mask, it sounds like it would help. Is it the all to end all? I can't be, but it sounds like it would help a little bit, And then he came out constantly changing. I wouldn't let that guy treat a paper cut, by the way, just like, but, yeah,
flip flop Fauci, I call him. Flip flop.
Yeah, exactly.
Fauci.
Talk about a media hog. Oh my God, if this thing goes away, no one will like me anymore. Don't forget these guys are idiots. But guy hasn't treated a patient in 40 years, and all of a sudden
he's a political hack, is what he is.
Totally, absolutely. So when people say I'm not wearing a mask because it's my freedom, I'm like, dude, really? Is that really a freedom? Wearing a mask? If it might help, even just 10%, let's wear the mask, right? I mean, I'm not telling you what to. I'm not a doctor. But common sense would dictate it's got to stop something, right? But at the same token, when science shows you that kids are not getting sick and it's not spreading in schools, open the damn schools. Because what you're doing to these kids is far worse than anything that the disease is ever doing to these kids.
Right.
So open the damn schools. Florida, I was down there. It was open. People were wearing masks. They were social distanced. Stores were not closed. COVID was all of a sudden not magically infectious at 10:15 at night. So the restaurants were open late, and the numbers are less than in New York with more elderly. But you got a governor up here who's giving himself awards and throwing them Emmy parties and writing books and lying and killing people. And, guy's a piece of garbage. But the funny thing I found was I'm on Southwest and they go, all right, now people find your overhead area. And remember, please, every seat has been sold. I'm going, every seat sold. They were not selling the middle seats. So you set me next to a stranger on a plane for 3 hours. Okay, so I go down there. Before you come back, got to get your COVID test, make sure you're negative. I think it's 3 days prior. I go and get my test, negative. I got no problem following rules when it makes sense. I'm not one of those who are against my freedom. I'll do it. If it helps, let's bond together, right? So I go get my test. I fly back, sold every seat again. I fly back as soon as we land. So the lady comes down to me, my mask, I kid you not. I'm looking down, it's over my nose. She walks by, she's talking. I look up, so the mask comes to the air. Sir, do I have to get you another mask? I'm like, what? She was the second time I passed you. It's not fitting your face. I'll get you a mask. I go, it's not fitting my face because I keep looking up to talk to you, to listen, to look at you when you're talking to me. She goes, well, don't look at me. I go, I don't have to look at you. Believe me, I'm more than happy to not look at you. Trust me. Right? So then she's all mad at me. Then they make an announcement when we land. Please, people, remember, now that we've been shoulder to shoulder with strangers, right?
Yeah.
Please, people, remember, when you get off the plane, please try and social distance. Social distance? You just sat me on some guy's lap for 3 hours. You idiots. You fear-mongering pieces of garbage. Just absolutely freaking ridiculous. So if a plane can do that, why can't I go to a comedy club at 50 or 60 or 70%? Why can't this be done? Why can't the theaters? If I could sit for 3 hours next to somebody with a mask on a plane, why can't I go to Theater 3 and have a 350-person seat theater and go, all right, guys, you know what? Let's do 2/3. Let's do something. But you shut down business. You crush businesses that are never coming back. Oh, but if I say I'm in a riot, then I'm okay. Fuck yourself. So I'm so disgusted with the whole thing. That's the iced tea talking.
It's really disgusting. It's disgusting. And, the whole thing was to get rid of Trump. I mean, we all know that. That's the
Absolutely.
whole thing.
And that's not the way to do it. You don't like the guy? I got zero issue if you don't like the guy. That's fine. That's your opinion. Right. Do it the right way. Give me an option that is better than what he's done, and you got my vote. But just say that I don't like him the way he talks. Or if you don't like the way he talks, I totally get that. And if that's your voting issue, that's fine. But you can't just make stuff up and make it a voting issue when your guy's doing worse. That's not intelligent. And there were some very intelligent people that I considered friends or friendly that I do not speak to anymore. Not because I ended it, but because when you start saying all you Trump supporters, all you people who voted for Trump are idiots. You just call me, my wife, my kids, my families, my friends, my coworkers idiots. Why would I want, if this is what you think about me, why would I want to be friends with you? Why would I want that? I know now what you think of me.
Yeah.
If you're saying Trump's an asshole, we're friends. You know what I mean? Because that's your opinion of the man. You could have an opinion of the guy. That's okay by me. But when you call me an asshole because I voted for the guy, now I got an issue with you. Why would I want to be friends with you? Why would I want to be friends with someone who's calling me an asshole for voting for somebody?
Well, now we're worse. Now we're domestic terrorists. They've upped the game.
Yeah.
They've upped the game. Now they have to protect the Capitol. They have to protect the streets because we're at any moment we're going to gather together and go over there and blow the place up or something.
But it's all right to march with, and believe me, don't misconstrue what I'm about to say, because again, I don't care anymore. But Black Lives Matter, abso-freaking-lutely. Black Lives Matter organization, terrorist, anti-Semitic, hateful, con artist organization.
Marxist.
Black Lives Matter, and there needs to be a real conversation had about all the kids being killed in Chicago, about, I love this program that me and a friend of mine, we were going to try and start. We just haven't gotten because of COVID, but it was called Know Your Rights, Don't Fight. And that
you
is,
were telling me about that.
Yeah. If you're, you know what, I want to teach these kids, when you get pulled over, this is what's expected of you, how to act. But at the same token, this is what's expected of the officer and how to treat you. And if they don't treat you a certain way, we live in the most litigious society ever created. File the complaint, make the lawsuit, do what you need to do. We don't need bad cops. Absolutely. But the same token, don't escalate because you saw it on Facebook and you think you're cool because you're going to do a live FaceTime thing and you're going to go Facebook Live and get a whole lot of views. It's going to get you killed. It's going to get you hurt. It's going to perpetuate more violence from others because you got half the story. You're trying to antagonize the cop and you're putting that out there and other people are going to follow suit. And it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous.
And then we all need to takes that, and the media takes it and blows it out of proportion.
That's right. Because if the media doesn't create fear and anger, then no one's going to watch them. You think everybody watching the news if we were all happy and getting along? No. So they need to report half of it, right?
Yeah. Fear sells.
Exactly. And then you don't even call it media. You got a guy like, the governor's little brother, right?
Oh, Chris Cuomo.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't like the name calling thing like that. So people want to call him that, or I don't like the guy that said that to him when he said it in front of his family. I thought that was pretty low.
It was disrespectful.
Good. It's disrespectful. The guy's out to dinner, out to lunch, wherever he was with his family. Not cool. Cuomo did the right thing by standing up to him. But when the guy would get scared of Cuomo, then Cuomo started doing all this big macho bodybuilder act. I'll kick you down the stairs. Dude, you already proved your point. The guy already apologized. Let it go. Now you're being a jackass. You think you're a tough guy? Trust me, you are not a tough guy. You're a spoiled little rich kid who, if your last name wasn't Cuomo, you'd be getting someone coffee in a firm. So cut it out. Just stop. You're nothing but a blogger. That's all you are. You got your older brother on there, and you think you're all cool because you lift weights. Big deal. You know what, people? Wow, you lift a weight. Big deal. Big deal. You're a real tough guy. You're not a tough guy. So, you gotta be respectful. But these people on the news, they don't report the news. They create the news.
Yeah, they report the narrative.
And they manipulate the narrative, and it's been shown. Because you saw, what was it like? I think they released the tapes with him and, was it Cohen? When they had the tapes of him telling Cohen, Trump's attorney, what to say in one of the interviews.
Yeah.
That's the Kardashians, dude. You're not a news reporter. News reporters don't tell you what they're going to say. It's like Biden not taking questions, but Trump took every question.
Yeah.
Biden's the president of the United States. I would like him to answer questions truthfully and honestly so I could decide if I agree with him or not, because some things I may agree with, some things I may not. But how do I know when they're scripted?
They keep it so much from us, and they're not telling us the truth. I mean, it's very depressing and sad.
It really is. It's like 1930s Germany. And if you disagree, they march down the street and turn over your table, and that's okay because you got jackasses like de Blasio saying, or Cuomo or Lemon going, that's okay because there's a reason. I heard one of my friends who I respect say one of the dumbest things I ever heard him say. Well, the insurrection was bad at the Capitol because there was no reason. But the BLM riots, at least you can understand because there's a reason. No, there's no reason to beat up an 80-year-old woman or to hurt somebody or to threaten somebody. There's not a reason for that.
Well, there's no reason to loot.
Yeah, to loot a Target where I have to write on my business, black-owned business. Doesn't that sound like 1930s Germany? German-owned business, don't destroy. Go destroy the Jewish business? Because that's all it is. They're terrorists. They are terrorists. Okay? George Floyd was a murder situation, a civil rights situation, whatever it is you want to call it. That guy that needs to come out. But I'll tell you this about it: get ready for more riots with George Floyd, because I'm not sure that guy's going to be convicted of murder. He may be overcharged because it turns out he had drugs in his system. Floyd did. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm not saying he's not guilty. I'm saying he may not get the guilty conviction because of that. And when you overcharge and you don't let all the facts come in, and you rush to judgment by an angry mob mentality, it's bad. That's what happened in the Freddie Gray case in Baltimore. You overcharged those cops, and they got off. You know, you can't. You know, I mean, there's some cops you shouldn't be charging, and there's some cops you should, but you can't overcharge, because then you set yourself up for failure, and it makes the system look corrupt. It's just bad, man. You got to be a good prosecutor. You gotta charge them the right way. And you know, I can't see for the life of me after watching that video. It's painful to watch. Painful to watch. You know, it just is. Yeah, I mean, look, when the cuffs are on, it's over, dude. The guy was not a threat at that point in time. What are you doing with your knee on his neck? Don't tell me about training. Training is to subdue. Training is not to punish. You know, you don't arrest someone to punish. You take them down to subdue. You take them down to comply. You take him down for safety. He was not a threat in that video any way, shape, or form. Simply wasn't. He was freaking out. Maybe he was claustrophobic because of the drugs, but he wasn't. He was already cuffed. You know, he's on his belly. He's not a threat to strike you in any way. You know, so, you know, he'll get what's coming to him, but I just, you know, I hope that they didn't overcharge him, and then, you know, it starts this all over again.
Yeah,
We'll
because he has a lawyer. Lawyers win sometimes for the wrong reasons.
Well, you know, I don't know what he's doing, but usually you go to a bench trial more than a jury trial. You know, and the reason you go to a bench trial is because the judge is usually supposed to follow the letter of the law. And if he goes to a bench trial and the judge views it by the letter of the law and is honest and says his intent was not to murder Mr. Floyd, his intent was to obviously maybe subdue him and cause him damage where he tried to hurt him. He tried to punish him. He tried to dish out punishment. I can see a judge thinking that and going, manslaughter, but you charged murder. So I got to find him not guilty of murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it's an issue. It's an issue. You know, I'm not saying, like, I'm not a judge. I'm not a jury. I don't know. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's going to cause a lot of trouble.
It will. It will. And, you know, we don't need that guy, the Chavons on the job. We don't need those guys. We don't want those guys. You know, we don't. It makes us all look bad. It makes us all look trouble. We don't want that. You know, we don't. Agree. You know, you got to keep training cops to be good cops. You got to get for the good cops. And you got to put the microphone in front of the community leaders that support the police, not the Al Sharptons. You know, and everybody, because police leaders will come out and tell you, you know, how many cops you saw. Listen, we're with you. We need the community. You hear them say it, but you can't hit cops over the head with pipes and expect unity either. You know, you got to arrest those people too. You got to arrest the people that break into the targets. You do.
Of course.
You know, you can't just go, oh, let's focus on the people at the Capitol. They're animals. Yes, they are, and they should all be arrested. Every single one of them that breached that security in the Capitol, regardless of if they were Antifa or regardless if they were a Trump supporter. I don't care what you were there. You don't do that. You don't do that. You protest, like Trump said, we're going to march peacefully and patriotically. Okay. That's you go ahead and you decide to break into the Capitol. Dude, that they need to be arrested. Plain and simple. You know,
I think they picked up quite a few of them. So yeah, hopefully they get them all.
They did, and I hope they get every single one of them. They charge them to the maximum and they convict them. But you also need to do that to the same people that ruin the cities and riot.
Right. And has to be everybody.
Has to be, you know, you can't just pick and choose when you're going to be, when there's going to be justice.
Equal justice.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're not America. Then what are we?
That's it. You can't pick and choose, you know, and that seems to be that seems to be what's going on right now, right? It seems to be enforcing the laws you like and don't like. You know, it's not illegal immigration if I can use you as a bargaining chip. You know, well, it is illegal. When you come into the country illegally, It's illegal. And then you're blaming the administration or the Border Patrol for picking them up. If you don't want that to be illegal, well, then you get elected and you change the law and make it an open border. And that's what the country would or would not vote for. That's a voting issue. But you can't stop enforcing it because you just don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, what's for them to me to sit there and say, well, you got a swimming pool. I don't. Well, I don't know. I want to go cool off. It's 90 degrees out. So I'm going to jump in your pool. It's really not, I'm not a bad guy. I just really want to cool off. So you mind if I just jump in your pool? Right? It's not illegal, is it? I mean, you know, it's not, why is it illegal? You're going to pick and choose which laws to enforce. I want to jump in your pool. Why can't I jump in your pool and cool off? I can't afford a pool. I want to jump in yours. Right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Can't pick and choose which laws to enforce. Oh, that's a nice buffet. It's got crab legs on it. Gee, I can't afford crab legs. I'm going to go in and grab some. So I can't afford it. You know, I'm just hungry and I'm going to go in and eat this $40 buffet for free. Don't arrest me. I'm hungry. I can't afford crab legs. You know, it doesn't work that way.
Scott, I got to go.
All right.
But this was great, man. Really great conversation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Stevie. You're a good guy. Let's do some shows together when Cuomo decides to open up the castle.
Maybe this summer. Who the hell knows?
We will. It'll get better. All right.
I think people will be ready for it, and it'll be as good or even better than before.
Yeah. Hope so.
I hope so.
Hope so.
God bless you, buddy. It's good to see you.
You too.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
Be good. Bye. How do I get off this thing?
Suffocating in
Just leave,
Suburbia.
right? Just leave?
Yeah, I'll Goodbye.
All right. Bye.
All right.